Some of the things that are quietly making your retirement smaller are the very things you were praised for your whole life. That's the part almost nobody tells you. We spend 65 years being taught that certain habits make us good, responsible, admirable men. And then we carry those same habits into a completely different stage of life, where several of them have turned into a slow kind of harm without us ever noticing the switch. I've found 7 of them in my own life, and I want to walk through each one, because I suspect you'll recognize at least a few. And the 7th is the one I held on to the longest, the one I was proudest of, and it turned out to be the one costing me the most. Let me start with the first, because it's the one that surprised me the most when I finally saw it clearly. Stop trying to be useful all the time. For most of our lives, being useful is how we earned our place. You were useful at work, useful to your family, useful to everyone who needed something. And that's a good way to live, for a long time. But somewhere after 65, a lot of men turn usefulness into a kind of trap. They can't sit with anyone without needing to fix something, can't accept help without immediately trying to repay it, can't just be present without earning their keep. I watched myself do this. I couldn't visit my own children without turning into unpaid maintenance, fixing the gate, looking at the car, because just being their father, somehow didn't feel like enough. What I eventually understood is that the people who love you don't want your usefulness. They want you. And a man who can only relate to others through what he does for them is going to feel strangely lonely, even in a room full of people who care about him. The second thing to stop is holding on to grudges you've been carrying for decades. I know how simple that sounds, and I know how hard it actually is. But here's what I've come to see about resentment at our age. It's heavy, and we're the ones carrying it. And the person it's aimed at usually has no idea and feels none of the weight. A grudge is a stone you carry that only hurts the one holding it. When you're young, you tell yourself you'll let it go someday, that there's time for that. At 65, 70, you start to understand that someday is a luxury that's running out. I've watched men go to their graves still angry at a brother, a former friend, a business partner from 30 years ago. And all that anger did was rob them of years they could have spent lighter. Letting go of a grudge isn't about the other person deserving it. It's about you deciding you no longer want to carry the weight. And I'll be honest about the part that makes this hard, because I don't want to make it sound easy. Letting go of a grudge can feel like losing an argument. There's a stubborn part of a man that says, if I stop being angry, then he got away with it. Then I was wrong to be hurt. So we hold on, not because the anger helps us, but because letting go feels like surrender. What changed my mind was realizing the other man wasn't even in the fight anymore. He'd moved on years ago, or died, or forgotten the whole thing entirely, while I was still standing there with my fists up, arguing with someone who'd long since left the room. That's what a decades-old grudge really is, a quarrel you're having entirely by yourself. And once you see it that way, laying it down stops feeling like defeat and starts feeling like the sensible thing to do. You're not letting him win. You're just choosing to stop paying rent on something that stopped being his problem a long time ago. The third thing to stop is pretending you're fine when you're not. This one is deep in a lot of men, mine included. Put there early and reinforced for a lifetime. Never complain. Never show weakness. Handle it yourself. And that toughness served a purpose once, but carried into old age, it becomes genuinely dangerous. Men who won't admit they're struggling don't go to the doctor when something's wrong. They don't tell anyone they're lonely or frightened or in pain. They sit alone with things that would be so much lighter if they just say them out loud to one person. I'm not saying become someone you're not. I'm saying the strength that mattered at 40 can quietly become the thing that isolates you at 70. There's a different kind of strength worth having at this age, and it's the strength to say, honestly, that you could use some help. The fourth thing to stop is living on other people's schedules and other people's expectations. This one sneaks up on you, because after a lifetime of obligations, a lot of men don't even know how to stop. They wake up early out of habit, with nowhere to be. They fill their days with things they think they're supposed to do, rather than things they actually want to do. They keep saying yes to obligations that drain them, because saying no still feels like a failure of some kind. But this stage of life is, for many of us, the first time since childhood that our days are genuinely our own. And it's a real loss to reach that freedom and never actually use it. To spend it instead on autopilot, doing what you've always done simply because you've always done it. Stopping this means asking, maybe for the first time in decades, a genuinely simple question. What do I actually want this day to be? The fifth thing to stop is comparing your body and your life to what they used to be. This is a quiet poison, and most men drink it daily without noticing. You look in the mirror and measure yourself against the man you were at 40. You think about what you used to be able to do, how you used to look, how much you used to be able to take on, and every comparison makes the present feel like a disappointment. But that man at 40 is gone for everyone, and measuring yourself against a ghost is a fight you can only lose. The men I've known who are genuinely happy at this age made a quiet peace with the body they have now. They stopped grieving the one they lost and started actually living in the one they've got. It's not resignation. It's the opposite, really. It's finally showing up for the life that's actually in front of you instead of mourning the one behind you. The sixth thing to stop is letting fear make your decisions for you. As we age, fear gets louder and quieter at the same time. Louder in that there's more to be afraid of, more that could go wrong, more fragility in everything. And quieter in that it stops announcing itself as fear and starts disguising itself as caution, as being sensible, as just not wanting to bother. A man stops traveling because it's too much hassle, when really he's afraid. Stops trying new things because they're not for him, when really he's afraid of looking foolish. Stops reaching out to people because they're probably busy, when really he's afraid of being turned away. Fear at this age is sneaky. It rarely feels like fear. It feels like wisdom, like reasonableness. But a life quietly run by fear gets smaller and smaller until there's almost nothing left in it. And the man living it never quite realizes what happened. Worth asking yourself, when you decide against something, whether it's really good judgment talking or just fear wearing its coat. And now the seventh, the one I held on to the longest, the one I was proudest of. Stop believing you have to earn rest. This is the one that ran deepest in me, because I'd built my whole sense of myself on it. I was a man who worked, who provided, who never sat down while there was something to be done. Rest was something you earned by finishing, and there was always more to finish. So rest was always just out of reach, and I wore that like a badge. What I didn't understand, until it had cost me more than I'd like to admit, is that this belief doesn't retire when you do. It follows you. You leave the job, but you can't sit in your own living room without a low hum of guilt, feeling like you should be doing something, earning something, justifying the fact that you're allowed to simply be. I know men who reached the end of a long life of hard work and could not, even then, give themselves permission to rest without feeling like they were getting away with something. Here's what I finally came to understand, and it took me too long. You've already earned it. Whatever you told yourself you had to accomplish before you could rest, you did the work. 65, 70 years of it. The rest was never something waiting at the end of one more task. It was always yours to take. And the belief that you had to keep earning it was just a habit of mind you picked up so young you mistook it for a virtue. Letting go of that belief was harder than letting go of the job ever was. But on the other side of it is something I didn't know I'd been missing my whole life. The simple, unearned, guiltless pleasure of just being alive on an ordinary afternoon, with nothing owed to anyone. So there are the 7. Stop needing to be useful to feel welcome. Stop carrying grudges that only weigh on you. Stop pretending you're fine when you're not. Stop living on other people's schedules. Stop comparing yourself to the man you used to be. Stop letting fear disguise itself as wisdom. And stop believing you have to earn your rest. I notice that almost every one of these is about putting something down rather than picking something up. And I don't think that's an accident. Most of the advice we get about aging well is about adding things. Do more of this. Take up that. But I've come to believe that a great deal of what makes these later years lighter and happier isn't about adding at all. It's about finally setting down the things we've been carrying for so long that we forgot we were even holding them. Some of those things served us well, once. But a load that made sense to carry at 40 can be exactly what's wearing you down at 70. The freedom, if there is one at this stage, comes from being honest about which is which and having the quiet courage to put down what you no longer need to carry.